Welcome to the Economist in Your Ear podcast. What happens when the people who keep modern society running, the delivery drivers, the cashiers, the factory workers, decide to pick up a pen and write their own story?
It's a really compelling question, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
for decades, the vast majority of China's engine of growth, that huge working class, has been largely invisible,
Mm-hmm. Silent.
right? Silent. A
Yep.
demographic whose reality was mostly, filtered through official statistics, if seen at all.
Absolutely. And today we're really digging into the insights from someone who helped break that silence. Hu Anyan, author of the Chinese bestseller I Deliver Parcels in Beijing.
Yes.
Now, Hu is a fascinating figure. He's not your typical scholar or professional writer. Before he found success, he actually cycled through 19 different low-wage jobs.
19. Why?
Yeah, everything from security guard to delivery driver. And apparently, when he writes now, he often works from places like a quiet mall lounge in Chengdu, anywhere with free Wi-Fi and air conditioning.
Well, that background is precisely why he's such a crucial voice. He's part of this growing wave of what some researchers are calling worker literature in China.
Worker literature, okay.
And this movement, it offers a really unfiltered, often quite bleak window into the struggles of the working class. And it's happening at such a pivotal time.
You mean with the slowing growth automation?
Exactly. Slowing economic growth, rapid automation, widening inequality, it's all hitting at once. And this literature, it actually signals a fundamental shift, I think, in how the country views work itself, the nature of it, the value of labor.
Okay, so let's try and grasp the sheer scale here. Here's career. It started back in 1999, right?
Yeah, so he lived through those 2 decades of explosive growth for China's migrant workers.
And the numbers involved are just mind-boggling.
Oh, staggering. We're talking about a fundamental part of modern urban life. Official statistics estimate around 300 million migrant workers in China.
300 million.
They built the skyscrapers, staffed the factories. They were the engine during those boom years.
And now, within that huge group, we've seen this, explosive rise of flexible labor, haven't we? The gig economy, especially post-pandemic.
That's right. It's often called a sponge, hasn't it? Soaking up laid-off workers, people whose businesses failed, and crucially, young graduates who just can't find those traditional jobs.
The scale of that is also massive.
It's truly breathtaking. Roughly 200 million people, maybe 40% of the urban labor force, depend on some kind of flexible work.
40%.
And if you drill down just to those relying on platforms, delivery apps, ride-hailing, you're still looking at 84 million people whose boss is basically an algorithm.
Which explains some of those slightly surreal stories you hear, right? Ordering the cheapest ride and a fancy sedan pulls up.
Exactly. You've got former high earners who've, fallen on hard times driving those cars. But then, on the other hand,
You've got the younger workers who actually seem to prefer it.
some do, yeah. They value the flexibility, the freedom, maybe, over the kind of stability their parents always sought.
But it's not all freedom and flexibility, is it? There's a trap there.
That's a key point. Hugh and others talk about this psychological trap. Many workers call these jobs guodu, which means like a transition, a temporary stopgap.
Okay, it's just something until the real job comes along.
Precisely. But the problem is, with youth unemployment indicators being what they are right now, a lot of people are finding themselves stuck, permanently stuck in that temporary transition.
They think they're passing through, but actually, this is the destination for many.
That's the fear. And that sense of being stuck, it fundamentally changes how this generation sees work. It's so different from their parents' experience.
Right, you mentioned Hugh's parents had those stable iron rice bowl jobs at state-owned enterprises. The completely different world.
Oh, completely. The Iron Rice Bowl defined everything for that generation. We're talking guaranteed lifetime employment, state benefits, housing, a clear social status.
And their work felt like part of something bigger.
Yes, exactly. It was understood as being part of a broader state-led development project, oriented toward collective goals. You weren't just working for yourself. You were literally building the nation.
A collective identity, whereas Hugh's generation, they grew up purely in the market economy.
Right. Where personal striving, competition, that was everything. They became much more, let's say, self-interested. They started seeing their skills and knowledge not as a shared asset, but purely as private property.
And that breeds intense competition.
It really does. Hughes tells that brilliant, slightly chilling story from the bakery he worked at.
Oh, yeah, where the experienced bakers wouldn't teach the new guys.
Exactly. They absolutely refused to share their bread-making knowledge. Why? Because they saw that specific skill as their only private competitive edge. In a zero-sum world, giving it away meant losing security.
That's quite a bleak way to view your colleagues. And who suggests this thinking isn't just isolated incidents, right? It's more systemic.
He does. He offers this broader theory. If you step back, in a populist context, think about it. 1.5 billion people competing for what are perceived as limited resources. Well, that scarcity naturally encourages more transactional interpersonal norms.
So because there's so much competition, every interaction becomes a kind of potential trade-off, a zero-sum calculation.
Pretty much, even with colleagues. Because there's no safety net if you fall behind. You have to protect your little piece of ground.
And you see that mentality drilled in from a young age, too, don't you? I remember reading about the high schools where student seats were literally rearranged each week.
Based on their mock test rankings, yeah.
Imagine that, every Monday morning, physically shown where you stand in the hierarchy. It's like a literal dog-eat-dog world.
It is a physical manifestation of it. If you're not moving forward, you are visibly falling behind.
Right.
And that systemic pressure, that competition, it feeds directly into the kind of digitized grind Hugh describes in his delivery work.
Right, the quantification of everything.
Exactly. What's really insightful is how these modern logistics systems, powered by digitization, they quantify every single moment of a worker's day. Labor becomes pure data.
They have that handheld scanner, right? It's like a real-time report card.
Precisely. Shows earnings, parcels collected, efficiency, all updating constantly. Minute by minute, there's no hiding. You know exactly where you stand compared to yesterday or even an hour ago.
But putting a price tag, a clock on every single minute, that must have a huge psychological cost.
Oh, immense. Crushing, really. He actually did the math himself. He calculated his time was worth half a yuan for each minute he worked.
Half a yuan, so going to the bathroom.
For 2 minutes, that cost him 1 yuan. Just thinking about that. It changes how you perceive your own body, your own time.
And living under that constant pressure, that quantification, it must just squeeze everything else out. Empathy, patience.
It seems to.
Yeah.
He writes very movingly about how this extreme pressure just reduces your emotional bandwidth. He talks about witnessing the poor treatment of a pregnant colleague and noting that everyone was under so much financial and time pressure that, well, no one had anything left over to give.
Everyone's just running on empty.
Exactly. And this creates friction with customers, too, who often expect, immediate, personalized service, regardless of the driver's pressures.
Which leads to that amazing, darkly funny exchange in the book where the old man asks him, "Aren't customers your god?"
Yes, and Hugh replies, "Yes, except I have many, many gods."
It perfectly captures that tension, doesn't it? The worker trying to optimize for thousands of gods efficiently versus the single customer wanting total focus.
That really does. The individual versus the system.
So, given all this pressure, this lack of empathy, this feeling of being a cog, it's maybe not surprising we're seeing these new philosophies about work emerging, like Niwan and Tangping.
Involution and lying flat. Yeah, they're not just internet buzzwords. They represent real social resistance. Niwan, involution. That's the feeling of pointless escalating competition, running harder just to stay put.
Like being on a hamster wheel that keeps speeding up.
Exactly. And Tangping, lying flat, is the direct response. Opting out. Refusing to participate in that relentless, often soul-crushing competition.
And Hugh sees this divide playing out among the delivery drivers themselves.
He does. He describes the grinders, the ones pushing themselves 10-plus hours a day, trying to maximize income, fully buying into that efficiency game.
Okay.
And then you have the clock-offs, the ones who work maybe 4 or 5 hours, make just enough for the day, and then they quit.
And go do what?
Often go back to gaming or pursue other interests. They actively reject the idea of maximizing income above all else.
That's a significant shift. And it seems linked to changing ideas about family obligations, too.
Yes, absolutely. There's this saying younger workers sometimes use, "Yiran chibur, Quanjibue."
Which means?
Roughly, if one person is fed, the whole family won't go hungry. It's a huge break from the past. Well, traditionally, migrant workers were expected to maximize their earnings to support a large, extended family, often back in their home village. This new attitude narrows the responsibility, often just to the individual, maybe their partner or child. It reduces that relentless economic drive to just grind harder and harder.
Interesting. And Q himself, his path reflects this search for something beyond just money, doesn't it? Despite growing up in Guangdong, which is known for being very business-focused.
Right, where being shrewd is a compliment. But he talks about this pivotal experience at his 7th job, working unpaid at a comic publishing house.
Unpaid.
Unpaid. But he met people there he called dreamers. People who genuinely valued art, literature, ideals above money or conventional success.
And that changed him.
It seems to have fundamentally shifted his perspective. He internalized this idea that creative work, or maybe just life itself, should be individual and meaningful. Not just about serving a company's bottom line or a supervisor's demands. It made him question the whole purpose.
And this perspective, this bleak honesty that Hugh offers, it's really striking a chord now, especially with young people.
Massively. He apparently first thought his readers would be, curious middle-class urbanites looking in from the outside.
Right.
But he's noticed it's increasingly young people who see their own struggles reflected in his writing. They feel confused, adrift.
Which makes sense given the economic climate they're facing.
It makes perfect sense. You've got around 12.2 million graduates hitting the job market each year, facing really tough unemployment indicators.
Wow, 12.2 million.
These are educated, aware young people. But there's this huge gap between what they expect from work, things like dignity, meaning, purpose, and what this highly efficient, digitized labor market often seems to offer, which is, well, being a replaceable part.
So the conclusion from Hugh, and maybe from this whole wave of worker literature, is quite profound then.
I think so. Hugh reflects that the more educated and aware you are, the less likely you are to feel genuinely free in your work in this system.
That's quite a statement.
It is. This awareness of being just a cog, it forces this next generation to ask really fundamental questions about what it means to live, rather than just being, worker bees.
So this literature, it's really revealing a deep cultural shift happening in China, the definition of success, what people expect from work in terms of dignity and meaning. It's all changing.
It really is. It's moving beyond just economic contribution. It feels more like an existential reckoning playing out on delivery routes and in warehouses.
And thinking about it, that deep reflection on freedom and meaning, that's not just a China story, is it? It feels like a question for workers everywhere, especially in these highly efficient, digitized economies.
Absolutely. When every minute is calculated, every task quantified. Does that relentless pursuit of efficiency inevitably start to erode something fundamental, like human dignity?
That's a really powerful thought to end on. Is optimization itself potentially dehumanizing?
Something to definitely reflect on.
Thanks for listening. Follow us for daily insights into world affairs, and don't forget to like, comment, and share.